Here we go again. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Welcome to Hawaii Preppers Network 808. Now, I don't really have to tell you what's going on. I mean, it's pretty much blatantly out there, slapping us in the face, left and right, every day. Major layoffs taking place during this time all over the nation. We also have strikes going on. Just so much things going on that who would not want to be prepared for a time like this that we are all living in now. You know, we have nurses on strike here in our state. At one of the hospitals here, Kapiolani Medical Center, and there's a lockout now for them. They're not allowed to go in. And so a lot going on here, and they have these other nurses that they brought in, and that, you know, to me, frankly, seemingly makeshift nurses, in that the public that has loved ones in these hospitals are not really satisfied with how these supposedly incoming different nurses have been helping them. You know, just a lot of stuff going on, folks. And I'm thinking that with this lockout with the nurses, and it's been a couple days already now, and that's really dirty to pull on the nurses. And it's only going to show all these other companies that have unions what they can do, as well as what they can get away with if their union members go on strike. So this is we're living in hairy times right now, all across the board. And that is why it's best to be prepared all the way around, because just too much is happening now. And, you know, everything is collapsing. It's literally collapsing, and it's going to continue to collapse even more so. So people shouldn't be too comfortable or content with the way things are. And, you know, the people in Hawaii, frankly, is like that. That's the mentality. It'll never happen to me. It'll never happen to us. But it will affect everyone. And I don't think that's a good way of looking at what's going on. But then again, you know, there are those that are not paying attention and won't pay attention until it hits the fan for them. And so it's always best to be prepared all the way around. Now, keep your eye on the East Coast port strike that more than likely may happen October 1st, and it's just days away. It would be next week, Monday, and there's nothing yet with their contracts. So I'm keeping an eye on that, because that will affect the economy really badly. So the New York Times put out an article today entitled "A Looming East Coast Port Strike Could Shake the Economy." And businesses are preparing for a strike by dock workers on the East Coast and Gulf Coast, which could begin October 1st if negotiations don't yield a new contract. Now, the Port of Baltimore in 2018, it shows a picture there, but a strike would include the Port of Baltimore, a hub for the import and export of vehicles and heavy machinery that reopened this year after a container ship crashed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in March. So this is like one of the ports that would be affected by this strike. So with dock workers on the East Coast and Gulf Coast threatening to strike on October 1st, businesses have been accelerating imports, redirecting cargo, and pleading with the Biden administration to prevent a walkout. Some importers started ordering Christmas goods 4 months earlier than usual to get them through the ports before a labor contract between the operators of port terminals and the International Longshoremen's Association expires next Monday. Now, many shipments have been diverted to West Coast ports, where dock workers belong to different unions that agreed to a new contract last year. The ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles say they are handling at least as many containers as they did during the pandemic shipping boom of 2021-22. Despite those measures and all the problem-solving skills that supply chain managers developed during the turbulence of recent years, a short strike could lead to significant disruptions. JP Morgan transportation analysts estimate that a strike could cost the economy $5 billion a day, or about 6% of gross domestic product, expressed daily. For each day the ports are shut down, the analyst said it would take roughly 6 days to clear the backlog. Chris Butler, the chief executive of National Tree Company, which sells artificial Christmas trees and other decorations, said his company had brought in goods early and made greater use of West Coast ports, but he estimated that 15% of his goods would still be stranded by a port strike. "I'm very unhappy," said Mr. Butler, who is based in northern New Jersey. "We're doing everything we can to mitigate it, but there's only so much you can do when you're at the mercy of these ports." Now think about it. All public, everyone is at the mercy of these ports. Just over half of imported apparel, footwear, accessories come through East Coast ports, according to Stephen Lamar, the president of the American Apparel Footwear Association. While his industry has made significant preparations for a strike, he said with logistics, we should never be surprised when last-minute hurdles come along. Being prepared. Last week, scores of trade groups sent a letter to the Biden administration imploring it to help forge a deal between the ILA and the United States Maritime Alliance, a group of companies that move cargo at ports. The alliance said on Monday that it had been unable to schedule a meeting with the ILA, adding that it had been contacted by the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, a government agency that helps management and unions negotiate labor contracts. In its own statement on Monday, the union disputed the idea that it was refusing to negotiate and said the alliance was offering wage increases that were unacceptably low. There hasn't been a strike across all the East and Gulf Coast ports since 1977, when a walkout slammed some retailers ahead of the holidays. Now, isn't that a coincidence? We're heading up to the holidays. You know, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. We're even heading into an election. Hello. Administration officials have said President Biden is not planning to force dock workers back to work, which the 1947 Taft-Hartley Act authorizes him to do. Beth Rooney, director of the Port of New York and New Jersey, said last week that invoking the act would be our best scenario next to there being a settlement. Now, I wonder why the president is not planning to force dock workers back to work. Could it be the election? Because a great majority of these unions vote Democrats. They have their members, and they tell their members to vote Democrat. Now, a strike would close huge container ports in New Jersey, Virginia, Georgia, and Texas. It would include the Port of Baltimore, a big hub for the import and export of vehicles and heavy machinery that fully reopened in June after a container ship crashed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in March. Significant foot trade goes through the East and Gulf Coast ports, including the major share of orange juice imports through a facility in Newark. Facilities for cruise ships are likely to keep operating, officials said. The ILA, which has over 47,000 members in the Maritime Alliance, have not met in person since June, when the union broke off talks over what it claimed was unauthorized use of labor-saving technology at a port in Mobile, Alabama, and it wants to increase wages, which have been significantly eroded by high inflation of the past few years. So East and Gulf Coast longshoremen with 6 or more years experience currently earn $39 per hour, up 11% since the start of their expiring 6-year contract. Over the same period, inflation is 24%. Wages do not commensurate to inflationary prices. Neither the union nor management is making its wage proposal public, but the Journal of Commerce, a publication that focuses on trade, reported recently that the ILA sought a $5 per hour increase for each year of the contract's 6-year term, while management has proposed a $2.50 per hour annual raise. My ILA members are not going to accept these insulting offers that are a joke considering the work my ILA longshore workers perform and the billion-dollar profits the companies make off the backs of their labor. Harold J. Daggett, the union's president, said in a statement on Monday. The ILA declined to answer emailed questions. The alliance also declined to comment. A vast majority of goods going in and out of the United States pass through the marine ports, giving the two main dock workers' unions significant leverage, which they have used over the years to secure raises and, at some ports, lucrative pensions and other benefits. Now, volumes have grown strongly at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, as more shippers have redirected imports there to avoid a potential strike on the East and Gulf Coast. Oh boy. Now think about it. If there's a strike on the East and Gulf Coast of these dock workers that happens next Monday, and they redirect all these containers, all these ships, cargo containers to the West Coast, that's going to be crazy, because they're going to be bombarded, they're going to be overloaded, and we're going to see long lines of ships out in the ocean waiting again, like how we saw in, was it 21, 22? Yeah, like how we saw that happen. And who knows how long it will take for them to process these container ships. It's gonna be crazy. Now, West Coast longshore workers on average earn nearly $2,200,000 last year. That's what it looks like, according to management, and currently make nearly $55 an hour. At the Port of New York and New Jersey, nearly 60% of the longshoremen made $100,000 to $200,000 in the 12 months through June 2020. The latest figures are available according to data from an agency that helped oversee the port. Some 3/5 of container shipments to the United States come through the East and Gulf Coast. And logistics. Experts say there is no way that the West Coast ports could absorb all or even most of them if they were diverted. Like I was saying, container volumes have been soaring on the West Coast, with the port of Long Beach reporting its best month ever in August, when container imports surged 40% from a year earlier. The danger is that the West Coast ports could get clogged as more shippers turn to them, causing delays and big increases in freight prices. Now, this increase will not only include freight prices, the increase will be passed down to you and I in all of these products and or items that are being shipped in to whatever port will be open and available. West Coast, obviously, will take in a lot of the bulk if this strike happens. Now, the industry analysis said there was still spare truck and rail capacity to move containers out of the West Coast ports and send them across the country, but doing so can be prohibitively expensive. It can cost as much as $6,000 to ship a container of artificial Christmas trees from the West to the East Coast. Mr. Butler of the National Tree Company said, "It's way too much," he added, "and while shipping by rail is a little cheaper, delivery times can be less certain, a risk," he said, he was unwilling to bear. So there you have it. Now, we are on the cusp of a major strike of dock workers on the East Coast and Gulf Coast. Right there, in and of itself. Any and every strike that we've been seeing and witnessing this year. This year is an explosive year for a lot of things to just wow. And it prompts everyone to be prepared, not just for your natural and or man-made disasters, wars, just everything completely, because everything is in our face. And if you have not been preparing, I think it would be very wise and prudent for you to do so for yourself and your family as well. And this is in everything, all things preparedness. I mean, look, hospitals, nurses are going on strike. You definitely want to get yourself healthy. You want to get all your medical supplies and all emergency first aid kit supplies. Now we got this dock shipping, strike that is about to occur if they don't agree on the contract. So that's big ramifications that are going to be felt, not just economically, but nationwide. It doesn't matter where we are, even though I'm on the West Coast and the strike is occurring on the East Coast and the Gulf's out there, it still affects us nationwide, and because it's going to impact the dock workers here on the West Coast where we are, and they're not going to be too happy about it. And prices are just going to go way out of the ceiling. It's just going to go sky high. We're going to end up paying even more, because of everything. And we're already paying more. And so, yeah, it's very wise and prudent to always be prepared and keep an eye on everything that's going on. Don't be scared. Just be prepared. I know a couple weeks ago I had to give my cousin, some food, some canned goods, because she's feeling the pinch. A lot of people are feeling the crunch. They're feeling the pinch. And, if you're in the position to help someone, then by all means, do so. And so, yeah, I gave her a lot. In fact, I gave, I think about 4 or 5 people, and I still have a good amount of food storage for myself and my husband, so, I mean, if I need to pick up anything, it'll just be basics, minor, eggs, maybe fresh produce or stuff like that, because I haven't quite grown anything this year. The only thing that is growing really strongly is my aloe which some people call aloe, as well as my turmeric. That's growing. I started some papaya seeds, so they're sprouting right now. And I don't know how many trees I'm going to get for that, but I just threw a whole wad of those seeds next to the aloe, and so they're sprouting out. Maybe I'll grow some other stuff as well, because we have weather 365 days out of the year, which you can basically grow non-stop all year round, and because we have tropical weather. So you can grow stuff to supplement what you have as well, but it's always good to prepare, because we are seeing the collapsing of a lot of things that are going down right now. And yes, nationwide debt is really high. People are just using their credit cards left and right without even realizing that they're actually doing themselves disservice when it comes to debt. And so, yeah, and if you are kind of tight on funds, there's many different ways that you can generate extra funds. If you have things in the home that you're not using, sell it, get rid of it, clear it out, make some money on it, donate it. Or when you donate it, you can write that off on your taxes at the end of the year, beginning of next year. There's many different ways to get foods. You can barter as well. There's food pantries. You can look into that as well. Look for discounts, sales. If you're a senior like I am, utilize those senior citizen discounts. If there's discounts on certain days at certain shops, grocery stores, utilize that as well, because every little bit helps, especially now during this time, which is very difficult for a lot of people. So yeah, I cannot stress how important it is for all of us to be prepared. Just be prepared, especially if you have a family, if you have children. Stock up. So I told my cousin, I said, I'm going to teach you how to stock up, to prepare, and I'm going to guide you and give you guidelines on how to begin and how to start. And you start off small, slow and steady, so you grow that food storage of yours, and you continuously grow it a little at a time, so you have something there in the event that you are tight on funds. It's not hard. It really isn't hard. And a lot of times, we got to think out of the box, think creatively in how to generate that extra income and streamline it and diversify anything and everything that your talents, your gifts, services that you can provide anyone that may need a particular service from you. You can teach, maybe courses, classes, maybe you can fix things. All of these services that you can provide and skills that you already have that someone may need, right there, you can generate extra income to assist and help you to gather more food storage or other things that you feel that is necessary for you and your family, emergency preps, whatever it may be. Yeah, so you just got to think out of the box and just do what you have to do what you need to do despite what is going on around us. And never limit yourself, because we're the only ones that have a tendency to put limitations on us and say, well, I can't do that. I can't afford this. I can't get that because of this, because of that. No, no, no. Stop using excuses, because you have the power to do anything and everything that you can. And I believe that. I strongly believe that everybody does have that power to do whatever's, to access whatever's, to make the most and the best out of their situation and circumstances for not just themselves, but for their families as well. All right, well, keep your eye peeled, be safe, and be prepared at all times. Aloha.